Hi and good day everyone. My name is David from Marsden Point News Radio, and today is Tuesday the 7th of April 2026. So I'm just going to take you through what's going on with our fuel shipments just now and give you a bit of a little bit of security, you know what I mean? So yeah, just take this as I have been doing this for every day for over 3.5 years. It'll be 4 years come the end of August this year. So it's just been an everyday thing I've done. It's been really good because of the amount of data that I have collected and the charts that are out there. It's good to be able to have these figures to look at what's normal, what are the low spots, what are the high spots, and many other different variables you can actually glean from collecting information. So I'll just get my camera off here and we'll get straight across to the other screen, and we'll start running through this. So we'll just start looking at today, okay? So this was done this morning. So Tuesday the 7th, okay. So we, as you probably already know, if you're on Telegram, of course, you'll see this every single day, you know. So it shouldn't be anything new. If you've looked at this morning on Telegram, and it's also posted, I also update the website every day as well. But yeah, the website's always done along with Telegram first, then website. So I mean, Marsden Point, okay, no shipping, no fuel. One vessel arriving, the Amasaya, arriving from Busan, Korea. So that's quite amazing. We'll come to that in detail soon. Yeah, but coming out of Korea, so that's really good. So it's actually due in tomorrow morning. Okay, so everywhere else right now is really quiet. Okay. Now, honestly, this happens. It happens like this, where there's 2, 3, occasionally we get 4 days a month where there'll be absolutely nothing there. You go, freak. What's happening? No, it's normal. It's not quite month on month. It's maybe a little bit longer, a 6-week period, and we start to see gaps again. But what's coming in, the forecast for the intake, that can go quiet as well. And then, crikey, I've seen the period where a week's gone by and it's like, okay, where's the ships? I can't find anything. And then they start to appear as a rush. Here it comes, and there's 2 or 3 appear, then there's some more appear, then there's, okay, here's the collection now. Sometimes it doesn't happen until the second week of the month, where this month we started off with a good seven figure, when it just done about the third. We were already showing 7, and I thought, blimey, okay, this is a really good kickstart to what's happening. So I thought, okay, we'll just do it every couple of days, given the situation, and with the war going on and stuff like that. And the fuel supplies and everything else that's going on, maybe I should pay a lot more attention, which I did. So I started to see it climb. So I thought, okay, and then surprising things started happening with the fuel starting to arrive from Korea, because that was an actual little bit of a worry there. But basically, Iran had says that to Korea, look, you support the US and Israel, you've handed back the THAAD system, and we're not playing with you any longer, so go and play on your own. And that's what they told them. Fortunately, South Korea was able to start to import Russian crude. So that came through from quite a few news sources, sorry. So that was I'm not calling it good luck, I say diplomacy, whether you want to call that luck or what. But yeah, that started to happen, so that was good. I didn't expect anything out of Japan, but unfortunately we are again. We'll go and have a look at that just now. So let's have a look at the situation, what's happening with the fuel forecast I put in this morning. So there you go on Tuesday. The Marsden Point is looking really healthy. I mean, that is a good normal amount. That's without a doubt, And again, we've got Singapore, we've got Malaysia, Singapore, and we've got Kyushu, Korea. Again, that vessel was here last month, believe it or not. so it's back again. It's actually been here quite a few times, so that is great to see. Korea and Singapore back in the game again, and there's the vessel, the Redwood Mariner, arising from Anjisaki in Japan. Yeah, I've seen the name before, Redwood Mariner. It's not unfamiliar. Absolutely super. We've got vessels coming out of Japan again, so one last month, one this month. Maybe there was two last month. We'll go and have a look at the charts in a minute. Anyway, Oriental Aquamarine, yep, the vessel's been here before. TP Endurance as well has been here before. Now these are Japan, Korea, Kawasaki, Japan. Right, okay, so there you go. Yeah, and the CC Ningbo is a regular visitor. So these vessels, after a while, become like really familiar. You get to know them. Other vessels that are marked as oil chemical carriers, they're not always carrying fuel. Trees of Micronesia, the trees of group are chemical and acid carriers, all sorts of chemicals, and another one that's in there just now is a molasses carrier, and folk have got that mistaken as a fuel, because sometimes they're marked down as fuel, and in fact it's not. The vessel's too small. It's not economical to put petrol and diesel in such a small vessel. They are specifically designed for carrying other products. They're not clean, as they call them. You've got clean tankers and dirty tankers. So that falls into the dirty tanker group. Anyway, moving forward, so Wellington, directly coming in is the Grand Winner 3, and we've had Grand Winner 1, 2 and 3 before, and the rest of the vessels that are not quite there yet will be coming in from further up north, and that is normal. And for a normal sort of route, my screen just changed size there, right, go off here. Right, for a normal, oh damn it, what have we done? Right there. For a normal routine delivery, for vessels that come in for the North Island, they're usually coming from Taronga. Sometimes go straight down to the South Island. Mostly they'll go Taronga, Napier, Wellington, New Plymouth, and they'll do the shuttle around the North Island. South Island vessels would normally come into Littleton. And there they will actually transit and shuttle themselves between Timaru, Bluff, then Port Otago and Dunedin. That's a normal sort of route for them. And they'll do about 3 or 4 deliveries each. So that's what we normally see there. And I wish my mouse would stop clicking that there because it's driving me nuts. Anyway, so we'll get a look at what's happening down in Christchurch there. We've still got the Oriental Aquamarine coming in from Taronga, so that's our North Island to South Island. Now, unfortunately, today I had a look, and no, there's nothing else that's on that list that's coming in that's petroleum. They have mentioned one is petroleum, the Chem Cobalt. Well, going by the name Chem should tell you something else. If you look at what's in the vessel, it's actually acid, and it has been listed as an acid chemical carrier in other ports. So don't get fooled by what you see. You know, it's just go and do a bit of research and get to know the names of the fleets, and they do go by first names and second names. I'll give you a good idea of what they're carrying. So anyway, the South Island, yeah, it's starting to look a little bit quiet down there. See, there's a bit of space between the 9th and the 15th, 9th and the 16th. Now, these will be the last ones to come in to the South Island, and these two, the Falcon and the Fujairah, have already moored there, and there's no fuel vessels here. No further fuel vessels are listed to arrive, and that takes us into the same situation as the New Plymouth, and that will basically that will spread. That will actually, once these vessels have gone, by that time, the 16th and 15th and 13th there, I will hope to have other vessels to tag on underneath here, and that's the way that it goes. It's not often that I've seen that, you know, there are no fuel vessels to arrive anywhere for overextended periods of time, not all at once. I wouldn't see that as being a major hassle in the first 10, 14 days. I'm just trying to give you a heads up on there. I'll take you now through to the front page, and let's have a dig into this. Now, this was my situation report I put up at the start of this in 28th February. I wrote this quite a few days after that, but we'll just leave that for now. So let's have a look at what is a typical can happen over a 3-month period. I just grabbed some data from just a mid-year sort of 2024. So yeah, January, April, and I took the numbers from the database, got them into a spreadsheet, and worked through. Okay, calculate this, show me this, calculate that, and show me the date, the distance between the dates and all the spaces. So at times you can see there's peak amount of days in between, 21, 14, 12, 13. And there are at times, scary pictures. Yeah, scary pictures. Dunedin's equally as bad. A lot more fuel shipments, but there's 15, 10, 13, peaking out there at 10 and 13 again. Timaru 27, yep. I do remember that, because that I think was around about the first time I ever saw anything going above, getting near the 20 odd mark, but it does happen. Littleton, 17 days was the longest there, 13, 12. So, but I mean, this bunch of days down here is, 6, 5, 8, 7, 4 and stuff like that. That is, it does happen in periods of time, and this is why I record this and keep the data, so I can actually start to have a look at this stuff in depth. Look at Nelson's 26 days for its peak on there. Marsden Point, now that at the time, and that always remained at 11 days, right? I kind of know why, but it's kind of sat there until last December 2025. It actually hit 20 days. Exactly 20 days, and that was the very first time, because I had a lot of comments coming back as well on my channels and saying this is looking a bit not normal, and it wasn't normal. This is like, okay, you've either got a good stock of fuel in there, or somebody forgot the order, didn't place the order, or the order was rejected. I wouldn't think that would be the case, but yeah, it happened. And so I do know that, it did at one occasion go 20 days, and I did make quite a few comments about that, and you can go back and check all the dates of the schedules of when the vessels left and when the next one came in like that, and it was 20 days. But yeah, spectacular, that's all I can say. But yeah, I mean, normally, a 9-day period is like what we're probably about doing. No, not quite near these just now, but we're getting sort of up near these numbers, the 4, 5s and 6s. 9 days, if you can see that, there's 4 9s, 5 9s recorded in there, and 1 11. So again, it's just this happens. I mean, Napier, 19 days. Yeah, that Napier, is one of those ports where they'll get 2 shipments a month, So you're looking at 3 months, that's looking normal for them, with long periods of time, like 16 and 14 days. So it's normally, they're like Timaru, where 2 vessels a month is adequate. Bluff's the same, a couple of vessels a month. They don't store a lot of fuel, there's not the population, they still manage on what they've got, it seems to be adequate for them. So I mean, I'm not knocking anything, I'm just making observations that some ports, they don't take in a lot of fuel. It's just, you think, they've only got 2 shipments this month. Yeah, but that's normal. Anyway, so Wellington is pretty typical. It does this thing down here where it has groups of vessels appearing in groups, like bunched up. This is a normal month for them. This is absolutely normal. They will one vessel will come in, then another one straight behind it, or you end up with 2 vessels in and 1 vessel outside. And they always bunch them at the same time. They got 3 distinct areas in Port Nelson. They've got Point Howard, where the commercial public petrol and diesel is stored. You've got Shelley Bay round at the airport, that's for the jet fuel, and then you've got Thorndon Quay, where there's a large oil tanker stored above Thorndon for heavy oil and diesel for ferries and trains. So you've got three distinct areas there where everyone else has. They do have all the tanks, bunched together, and you can't tell what's what. But at least with Wellington, I can get a pretty good breakdown of okay, that's jet fuel. It's at Shelley Bay because that's the intake for the airport terminal. So that's always good to sort of get that split and say, okay, I know when the last tanker came in because I will always have it marked. And I thought, right, I can always sort of look at when's the next one. What's the days between if you're looking at jet fuel? And some things that can be quite a considerable amount of days. I mean, quite a bit of days. So again, it's one of those things you start to learn. So pretty much all of these charts are going to start to look very familiar as we go through. When we see, the deliveries there, the nice bunch there at 3, down there just after 7, couple of days of space there, couple of days, 4 days there, then 11 days. Then we're starting to look at normal stuff, then a bit of a gap, but the chart is pretty much stable, if you know. So in Port Taranaki, New Plymouth, that was a record number, 32 days. And I did, of course, I went back and checked my own dates. When was the last departure for fuel? And okay, when's the next one? Okay, I was right. So I always double check myself and sometimes triple check. But as I say, that's how things are there. So it's not it's not something we haven't. Well, it's not something I haven't seen before. Certainly, it's been a lot of uncertainty with the shutdown and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, the blocking of fuel exports to Iran, and oil only going out to the friendly countries like India, China, and Japan. No, Japan wasn't on that list, or was it? Well, anyway, but we've and just for now, we've got a good amount of fuel coming in just now. So obviously, I mean, our stocks were high enough. I would have actually said it's normal. There's 24 days of diesel and 27 of petrol. That to me would be normal if you look at how our ships arrive. How our fuel arrives here. I mean, going back to, I'll grab that year there. My year always starts in September. It's just that September was the very first month I started doing this, back in 23, that long ago. Yeah, September 23, or it might have been before that, 24, 22, but anyway. So you can see the vessels, just new arrivals, 12. That was actually quite low. There's only ever been a number 11. That was the worst month. So 15, 15, 17. That's that's still, that's actually acceptable. Who am I to say? Who am I to say that? How dare you? So my mouse is making my thing. But anyway, let's right. This is where my charts changed because I have moved into another database. Ended up putting the graphs into Excel, and I still haven't managed to sort of sit down and patiently go, I need to resize these, but never mind. But let's just have a look at last month. Okay, in particular, that one tells a little bit of a picture of where I was going. Where are we? Oh, miles away. February. Actually, that's actually better. Stay focused there. Right, March. So the vessel count last month was March. And if you compare it to the vessels, that number that's on the rest of the months, grab another year or grab a whole page and look at the whole page. That is a suitable number. To me, very acceptable. it's an excellent number, 17. It's better than 12. It's better than 13. No, 17. Yeah, it's above, the one vessel every 2 days sort of mark. It's sitting above there. So to me, that's a good, that's would be a stable amount to see, you know. When it starts to go way below that, which we've only seen 11 recorded sometime I think last year. Yeah, but it was if you look at it, if you go, I hate to use the term seasonally adjusted consumption, but yeah, if you look at that as well, was that how much were we using at that time? Again, it's too hard to say. We didn't have the AIs that we've got now plugged in to do, polygraphs and polymetrics and APIs and the rest of it. And so now that that's came around, it's a little bit of a different, I've seen all the really fancy stuff that they can throw together with AI and start using that stuff. It is, oh my goodness, it's mind blowing. But yeah, I'm not going to go down that track. I'm still using graphs and recording it by hand. But yeah, my end will be what it is. And that will be it. But anyway, getting back to that, so vessel count last month was 17. And so that maybe gives you the answer as to why we still had, 24 and 27 days. Yeah, because that would be normal. And if we're looking at a vessel count of 11, 12, 13 for the month so far, yeah, we're sitting sweet. There's absolutely no reason for any panic. And I think that came out yesterday on Radio New Zealand on YouTube there, when Minister Willis was saying about she was updating the stock figures. And I said, well, you should have just looked at my charts and you would have seen them. But then again, who am I? But yeah, so this is why, as I say again, keeping these records is really important. We need them for, to do comparisons and look at that. I mean, you could sit down with your analysis and do all sorts of crazy stuff, but I'm not going down that track. I do enough, So get a look at the that are interesting. Yeah, fuel distribution. Now again, there was 44 total moorings last month. I mean, there was a good amount of fuel was distributed throughout both North and South Island. So that again that's champion. That's the way that things should be. So I don't see, unless there's something really crazy happens, like we see vessels disappearing off the incoming list, then I would start to sort of going, well, how many will it take before we don't see what we need or what I think, I should be seeing, before I would start to see a problem. That would be when maybe a couple of bells would start ringing, but certainly I wouldn't be in any desperation. It's 2 weeks away for Singapore. It's a little longer from Korea and Japan. Japan certainly is a long way away. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure the fuel companies would make up the shortfall. It shouldn't be that hard. But I mean, Malaysia did secure their fuel from Iran. So I read that the other day, and that might have originally come out of Reuters, or it might have actually come out of oil price. But yeah, so they've actually managed to secure crude from Iran, and which takes the pressure off of them, which makes their own strategic petroleum reserves, not be in so much demand. Both South Korea and Singapore, a couple of weeks ago, were actually telling the public that look, we've got to maintain more stock holdings at home. You guys that are exporting it, look for an alternative, because we can't keep this up. And if you're borrowing now, having to borrow fuel from the strategic petroleum reserves, you're going to pay for it. And that was it. So that caused a bit of a stir, which put extra stress on everything else. And that's why I was in at the time thinking, oh, goodness sake, we get between 40 and 60% of our incoming fuels from that country. We can't really afford to lose that, because that would change these numbers like you wouldn't believe. This would half. And then any restrictions coming to Singapore, again, that would be crippling. For us, it would be absolutely crippling. The good thing is, as we can see, it's not looking like that. That sort of little phase there, I'm just call it a little phase, seems to be just sort of edging away, where things are starting to look more relaxed and not so pent up and tense as they were. And that's good for us, you know. So I'm just going to say, yeah, I like this. I can run with this. So for this month, yeah, for so far, I'm just going to say that, yeah, this is actually looking, you know, pretty normal. You know, so we'll just wait for that chart to roll out and for things to keep coming in. I'll just keep recording it, keep a watch, keep an update. Anything goes out of the hand, I'll let you know. You know, so don't worry about that. So anyway, I will just get my camera back on there, and yeah, you can have a look at me for a minute or two. Right, so with all that being said, so no doubt I'll get this up to BitChute, and by all means do leave comments, and do let me know if you've got any concerns and stuff like that. I will do my best to answer all your questions in due course, and I look forward to talking to you all again. Alright, so thanks a lot. So this is Dave from Marsden Point News Radio, and it's Tuesday the 7th of April, and the time is just going 6:57 PM. Okay, thanks for watching. See you again. Bye.